that was a big deal when that film came out, that
Yeah.
Gandhi film. And I remember I went to go see it. And this was the last line. You know, it's a long film, and then it comes up to this last line. So this was, and it was in Gandhi's voice, and it was, I forget exactly what was on the screen, but it was kind of like a zoom out. It wasn't showing him, but you would hear his voice like a narrator say this line. He said, "When I despair, I remember that the way of truth and love has always won.
Hmm.
There may be tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall. Think of it, always." Right? So, like, here's a person that was known for his social action, but he's speaking like a classic Eastern philosopher, right? He's speaking about how even when it seems like we can't change the world in the way that we wish we could, what we can do is meditate on the fact that this is how the material world works. Tyrants rise, tyrants fall, and that's the way it always has been. And you know what? That's the way it always will be. And we can get in there and maybe mix things up a little bit. We all have a little power. Some people have a little more power than others. But in the end, it's truth and love. If you cultivate truth and love in yourself, then there's some hope that you can actually expand it to others.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. It's episode 1494. It's December 7th, 2024. And I am December 17th. And I am back from South America.
Nice.
Good to be here, Kaustubha. What a whirlwind that was.
You had a whirlwind, huh?
A whirlwind for the great release of De Pont de Monge. I said, double it. Yeah, we've had a great, we did yoga classes, we did book signings, and then we did two really wonderful shows. And I tell you, there's a lot of hardcore, from the hardcore scene, punk music scene, devotees down there. There's millions of them down there.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's bigger now than back in the day when we were doing it, right?
Matter of fact, a bunch of people, including Jess. Let's unmute Jess.
Okay.
Yeah, Jess is from Uruguay. You want to get unmuted today, Jess? I met her. Where is she? There she is. I got to meet Jess from Uruguay. Haribol, Jess. How are you? Good morning.
Oh,
Todo bem.
how are you?
I was going to say todo bem, but you don't speak Portuguese. You're from Uruguay. They speak Spanish there, right?
Yes, we do.
Good. How are you? How was the show?
It was amazing. It was everything. I mean, it exceeded my expectations for sure. It was amazing. Yeah, I was so glad to meet you. You were so generous. Yeah, because I got to be backstage too, so it was amazing.
Got her backstage. She got to watch. It was like 1,200 people at that show, they said.
Wow.
I know. Just when I thought I was washed up, I go to Brazil and I'm like a star again.
With new hair, a new mustache, and a new career.
It was so sweet. Also in Curitiba, they greeted us with the big kirtan at the airport. You know what it's like to get a kirtan greeting at the airport? It's so sweet. The devotees are so sweet. That's my takeaway. And while we got you here, Jess, what's the scene like in Uruguay? Is there a temple there?
There is not a temple here, but we have different programs. We usually gather at devotees' houses. And there is a kirtan every Sunday that I try to go as often as I can. but yeah, there are a lot of people here, devotees here. Yeah, for sure.
And how did you get into Krishna? How did you meet the devotees? Through punk and hardcore music?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I knew about Krishna for a long time, but I mean, I was not into it because I was a teenager and I thought that was like religion and everything, you know. But then I just knew about shelter, so it got me, yeah. And I had a lot of devotees, I mean, friends when I was young too. So yeah, I was always surrounded by Krishna for sure.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much because this really like changed my life.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Great guy. I love when I meet people from Zoom. And it was a super fun show. And thanks to all the devotees in Brazil and Chile that showed up. Really special. Kaustubha.
Yeah. You look tired though. You look a little.
I'm tired. I'm sleeping 5 hours, 5.5 hours every night.
Yeah, and had a long trip back.
Yeah, and it's just like staying up late. And then it's hard to like. It's hard for me. It's hard to sort of sleep in, especially when it's like bright outside and. It's not easy actually on your body. And at my ripe age, it's not easy. Still alive.
Would you like to just lie down for a little bit? Is it Raghu freezing up or is it me? It's Raghu freezing up, huh? It's him. Okay, I thought it was me freezing up. All right. Well, I wish I could turn to Mara and ask for the. Oh, here we go. You guys were frozen for a while there.
Sorry, I should have got a new tattoo. My sweet baby Krishna tattoo.
Really? What's going on over here? All right, Raghunath.
Is that beautiful? How beautiful is that tattoo? That's the tattoo I've always wanted.
All right. That's not your first baby Krishna. You have other baby Krishnas.
He's a classic, sweet little Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
So announcements. It's announcement time with Mara.
We gotta get focused for like Christmas India now.
You got to get focused for this podcast, brother.
Yeah. Episode 1500's around the corner. So
That's right.
Yeah. If you'd like to write to us, tell us how Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam daily has changed your life. We're gonna read some testaments from people and unmute people. It should be a great episode.
Great. Did people written in?
A couple.
A couple. Come on, people.
More.
You people on Zoom.
We need some more. Also, have you checked out our Sage community platform? If Wisdom of the Sages has been helpful in your life and you'd like to contribute to our work, please log on to wisdomofthesages.com and become a supporting member of our Sage community platform. For a minimum $5 monthly contribution or a maximum donation of whatever your heart desires, you get
put a maximum, put a number out there. People might be like, okay, $12,000 a month. I'll do that. You gotta suggest it. Do I have to be everybody's business coach here?
You don't, Raghunath. You really don't.
For a minimum of a grain of rice. I'll give a grain of rice. That's what they're asking for. Ask and you shall receive.
Even if it's a grain of rice, Raghunath. If it's done with the right mood, it's accepted.
Okay, well, you pay your rent with a grain of rice. Here, landlord. Because he was wearing like a rice outfit.
Burlap thing. Okay. Mara has more.
$5 monthly contribution or a $5,000 maximum monthly contribution.
There you go.
You get access to a wide range of live and archived classes, community chat, merchandise, retreat registrations, and much, much more. Log on to wisdomofthesages.com and join today.
Join.
Okay, Rogan, let's get into it. Let's
I'm in
let's
it.
pick it up.
I'm into it already. I'm really into it.
Let's hear the nugget then.
Here is the nugget.
Where's it from?
It's from Alan Watts.
Okay. Alan Watts was a British-born philosopher, writer, and speaker.
Yeah.
He was best known for popularizing Eastern philosophy, particularly Zen, Buddhism, Taoism, and Hinduism in the West.
Okay. You can't live at all unless you live fully now.
Oh.
Time is like a river.
Mhm.
You cannot touch the same water twice. He stole that from the Greeks. You cannot touch the same water twice because the flow that has passed will never flow again. Like that?
Will never pass again.
Will never pass again. You can't live at all unless you live fully now. Time is like a river. You cannot touch the same river twice because the flow that has passed will never pass again.
Speak to me, Raghu. Speak to me.
You speak to me. I got hours of sleep
Okay,
here.
will you listen to me if I speak to you?
Perhaps.
Okay. Well, you know, of course, Eastern philosophy is going to talk a lot about time. And, you know, I think when you and I started getting into Bhagavad Gita and Ishopanishad and books like that, when we first started getting into Bhakti and Krishna consciousness, it may have been kind of the first time for us that time was presented in a way that philosophers think of time, you know, not in the way of just like, you know, just thinking of time in terms of measurements, but thinking of time um, in the context of it being a powerful force that changes everything. And thinking of that, meditating on that, perceiving that, um, there's a lot of talk about that, in whether, you know, again, Alan Watts was into especially Buddhism, I think, but certainly it's there in our Bhakti philosophy, that just to step out of that flow for a second, right? If we actually step out of that flow and watch it like an observer, rather than being pulled by it, rather than being caught up in the flow, you kind of step out for it and you watch time work. You observe it. You observe how it's changing your own body. You observe how it's taking things away from you that you were accustomed to, you know, that you had grown accustomed to, or even grown fond of, or had some deeper emotional attachment to. You see that time is taking away. It's persistent. It's powerful. It's ceaseless. It won't stop. And there's a sense of our own helplessness in that. There's nothing I can do to stop it. It's going to take my loved ones. It's going to take my body. And then it's going to take me, you know, and then I'm gone. But that, although that may be like a little scary, it may sound a little dark or something like that, but we need to become accustomed to thinking and perceiving and processing from let's say from the timeless plane, because that's the spiritual plane, right? Spirituality means there is no force of time. In the spiritual realm, there is no force of time. For the soul, which is made of spirit, time doesn't move that. Time, it remains untouched by time. So we need to think on that platform. When we remove ourselves from time and watch it, even just that one step is a very powerful step forward in our spiritual life. You know, it's a potential game changer just to do that. Let's hear what you say, Rob.
That's it. I'm going to just go with what you said today.
Okay.
I'm going to take that in. I'm going to absorb
All
it
right.
and let that sink and settle like that.
Well, then we'll say a little bit more.
Okay.
He's saying that you can't live at all unless you live fully now, right? In other words, one way to live in the now, in other words, still in other words, one way to live that's not an illusion. If you want to step out of illusion right now and grab yourself a little space to step out of illusion, one way to do that is to contemplate how time is moving everything material. And when you do that, you're living in the now. You're actually like, you've actually freed yourself from that. It's like you stepped out of the river for a second and you could look at the river rather than, like if you're in the river, like say a rapidly flowing river, it's pulling you and your entire awareness is like, this is pulling me. But if you step out of it for a second, you can look at the river and see, oh, now I see what it is. It's this powerful force that's moving everything. So one way to step into spirituality or to step out of illusion is to observe the power of time. And that's one way of the more you become accustomed to the thinking and processing your perceptions that way, the more that you can begin to expand how even when I'm working in the world, even when I'm busy doing stuff, I can exist in the now, outside of time. My awareness can be outside of time, right? Not my body, but my awareness.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
All right.
Nice. All right. I got to catch up to the Bhagavatam now.
Well, you want me to catch you up a little bit? Why don't you chant the manchas and then I'll catch you up?
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in class in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agana Timurandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Madatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 17, Text 21. What's going on, Kaustubha? Where are we? I missed a little bit of the story.
You missed a little bit of the story. Right now, I'm a little worried. There's a huge bumblebee right next to sweet little baby Krishna. I don't know if you noticed that.
Bumblebee? What are you talking about?
There's a big, huge bumblebee crawling right next to her. On your arm. Duh.
I think a real bumblebee. I was like, oh, they're all dead and hibernating now. Bees are attracted to Krishna because he's so sweet.
That's true. That's true. So what we were hearing last show was Aditi did the Parivrata, and she did it successfully. She did it with intense focus, right? She had a little bit of material desire mixed in, right, Raghu?
Yeah, a little bit. She wanted to benefit her children.
Yeah,
you did some religious practice, I do that too. I do my little worship in the morning, and I say throw a couple prayers in for the kids. Come on, every parent does that.
So that's what she did.
No one's chanting, "Let the calamities come again and again" for my children.
To my children, yeah, that's true. So, although there was a bit of worldly desire in her, in her approach to Krishna, in her approach to Vishnu, still she surrendered to her guru's instructions, right? Who was Kashyapa Muni, her husband. She took those instructions to heart. She executed those instructions with intense focus, like a real yogi. And apparently she got purified by doing that. Even if we have material desire, when we give ourselves with focus and, under the instructions of an expert guide, it purifies us of the material motive that we came into it with. So by the time she's done, which I think was just like 2 weeks, right? It took her about 2 weeks. Lord Vishnu appeared in front of her. And when she saw that form, Raghunath, she went into ecstasy. She had goosebumps, tears were pouring out of her eyes. She had this faltering voice, and she began to offer prayers to Lord Vishnu, and they're very beautiful prayers. And we talked a lot about how her prayers began with speaking about Lord Vishnu's kind of like all-powerful omnipotence, that those kind of, the qualities that
you're just overwhelmed by the potency of the Lord.
Yeah.
Probably would happen if you were to see just like if you see a magnificent sunrise or sunset or full moon, and you're just like,
sense of awe.
A sense of awe. Yeah.
And we also discussed how, like, by speaking it, by verbalizing it, in one sense, she was aligning herself to receive his grace, because she was speaking, here's the reality, you're one category, I'm another category. And when we both understand that we fit together, like a plug in a socket, and the energy flows, if my plug is not designed or aligned with the socket, it doesn't plug in and the energy doesn't flow. So she connected in this way, and she pleased him with her prayers. And he said, "I'm going to fulfill your desire. You know, you wanted your children to be protected, the devas to be protected from the demons, the asuras." He said, the asuras are actually too powerful for any of you to take care of, but I can handle it, and this is the way that I'm going to do it. And then what he said blew her mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to take birth as your son, and as your son, I'm going to take care of this problem. So she must just be completely overwhelmed. You know, like I was just asking for him to somehow give my son some blessings so that they'd be protected. Not only is he going to do that, he's going to become my own son. I can love him and be loved by him in that mother-son relationship. Like, you know, yeah. So that's where we ended.
You're saying a little prayer, and next thing you know, okay, not only am I going to give you what you want, I'm going to be
Give you a
part of
lot
your
more.
family. Like
Yeah.
during all the holidays, I'm going to be there.
I'll be there. Right. So that's what he said. But in the last verse, he said, he told her all that. And he said, this was text 20. He said, "Oh, lady," he's not saying mom yet, but "Oh, lady, even if someone inquires, you should not disclose this fact to anyone. That which is very confidential is successful if kept secret." So he told her, don't tell anyone what's going on, but I'm going to take birth as your son. Has Krishna ever told you any secrets like that you're not telling us, Raghunath? Like,
I'm trying
don't
to
tell.
wonder if like the whole nativity thing of Jesus has been taken from the Vedas. I don't know.
Yeah, people say
It's
that.
a lot of parallels. I know they tried to say. I know the Christians who first came to India said the birth of Lord Krishna came from the nativity.
Yeah, but come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, here we go.
Text 21.
Text 21. Sukadeva Goswami said, after speaking in this way, the Supreme Personality of God had disappeared from that very spot. Aditi, having received the extremely valuable benediction that the Lord would appear as her son, considered herself very successful, and with great devotion, she approached her husband.
She must have been, imagine how she felt. Like, you gave me this method of performing devotional service, and I accepted it with faith, and it came back, you know, so successful, I can't even believe it, you know, more than I could have ever dreamt.
Being situated in a meditational trance, Kashyapa Muni, whose vision is never mistaken, could see that a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead had entered within him.
Whoa.
O king.
Like, you know, he's got like some glowing power in his chest or something, you know, like, or in his mind, I think, you know, in his awareness.
O king, as the wind promotes friction between two pieces of wood and thus gives rise to fire. So that's a thing, I think, in the tropics, you know, the wind makes like the bamboo rub together. It's like the rubbing of the two wood. As the wind promotes friction between two pieces of wood and thus gives rise to fire, Kashyapa Muni, whose transcendental position was fully absorbed in the personality of Godhead, transferred his potency into the womb of Aditi.
Yeah. The commentators say that this is kind of like an immaculate conception. Like, he kind of mentally
it's like the virgin birth.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Lord Brahma understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was now within the womb of Aditi, he began to offer prayers to the Lord by reciting transcendental names.
Now, this is interesting, right? Because now Lord Brahma comes. And Lord Brahma is the grandfather of Kashyapa Muni, right?
Yeah.
Like, Kasyapa's father is Marichi.
These aren't ordinary people. These are like the first people of the universe.
That's right. And Marichi,
in one weird way, we're all related to them.
yeah.
Like we're getting down that family tree right
Not
now.
only like humans, but like everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have a dog that's your cousin. You do.
What's your gocha?
Dog.
So Kashyap Kashyapa Muni's father is Marichi, and Marichi was like born from the mind of Brahma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in one sense, he's, he may be arriving here like in a grandfatherly context,
Right.
but I think it's something much more than that. It's like he's the highest level being in the universe, and now he knows that Vishnu is going to take birth in a special way in the universe. He has to be there. He has to show up and express how he feels about this, and express his gratitude and so on. Wow, Lord Vishnu, I was born from his navel. He is the one that's beyond all of this. We're all kind of like beings of this universe. He's the being that's beyond the universe, and he's coming into our universe in a very special way. Let me come there and let me share my words, words of appreciation, words of love, words of gratitude.
Okay, 25. Lord Brahma said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories to you, who are glorified by all and whose activities are all uncommon. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, O Lord of the Transcendentalists, controller of the three modes of nature. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you again and again.
So similar kind of prayers, right? He's beginning with expressing, you do the things that we can't do. You have the power that we don't have. It's not it's not that he's groveling. It's not like, hey, you get down there and grovel first, and then we can talk. But it's like, no. But he's like, we were talking about this yesterday. It's like he's got no need for a false narrative of who he is in his own. Okay, no one's better than me. He doesn't need that. He can recognize the greatness and the uniqueness of Vishnu, and he's got nothing but appreciation. He's laying it out there, and in that way, he's aligned properly to receive his grace.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the all-pervading Lord Vishnu, who have entered the cores of the hearts of all living entities.
Wow.
All the three worlds reside within your navel. What? Yet you are above the three worlds. Formerly, you appeared as the son of Krishna. To you, the Supreme Creator, who are understood only through Vedic knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances. Oh, my Lord, you are the beginning, the manifestation, and the ultimate dissolution of the three worlds, and you are celebrated in the Vedas as the reservoir of unlimited potencies, the Supreme Person. Oh, my Lord, as waves attract branches and leaves that have fallen into deep water, you, the supreme eternal time factor, attract everything in the universe.
Why don't you read the commentary to that one?
The time factor is sometimes described as kala srota, the waves of time. Everything in this material world is within the time factor and is being carried away by the waves of attraction, which represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So we're getting pulled.
Yeah. The 11th chapter, Krishna says, Kaloshmi Lokshaya Krit Pravridho, time I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the great destroyer, and I've come to destroy all the world. It's that part where Krishna's explaining that all these people in the Bhagavad Gita that you're scared to fight, they're already dead. I've already claimed them. You're doing nothing. I'm just asking you to serve me. Do you want to do it or not?
I can get somebody else.
If you don't want to do it, this job is open. I put it in the Village Voice. All you got is people are lining up, sending me their resumes. But this is interesting. You don't believe in Krishna? How about time? Do you believe in time? For those who don't believe in Krishna, God is a blue cowherd boy, the white light, whatever it is, whatever you perceive as God. If you don't believe in it, if it's too new agey for you, guess what? Krishna also comes in as a grosser form of time. And he comes as the great destructor. And that's a very fearful form. I'm a devotee of Lord Krishna, of sweet baby Krishna, and still this concept of time, it gets scary. It gets scary, like, okay, it actually is affecting me. It's affecting my body. It's affecting my health. It's affecting my, the way I look. It's affecting my thoughts. It's affecting my, you have some anxiety about the future. It's part of like, what's going to happen to my kids. time factor comes and everything shifts. It's like when everything's springtime, it's like, oh, look, fresh flowers. And then summer, hey, it's summertime. And then fall, it's gorgeous, but everything's dying. And then November, it's like everything, all of the
It's
leaves
dead.
are brown or dead. And if you're just a witness, like the original nugget we had today, if you're just a witness watching the seasons change, it becomes shocking and it can become devastating. And because we're embodied, we don't realize there's another springtime around the corner. So there's a lot of fear sets into that as well. So you don't believe in the sweet Krishna? That's okay. You see Krishna as a very ferocious way. And in that ferocious form, even though you don't want to surrender to that sweet form, you got to surrender to that ferocious form then in the form of time. That's where we actually all surrender. We all just bow down.
We Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, his commentary, it was just a one-sentence commentary on this verse. But he says, just as the deep current of a river takes away objects such as grass which fall into it, so you as time take away the universe. Like for Vishnu, the power of him as a river of time, it turns the whole universe like a blade of grass caught up in a powerful river. It's just like,
it's not just like an oak tree losing its leaves. It's the entire universe. Just it's
washed
November
away.
Universe. Whoosh. Why is that so hard to think of? Why is that so hard to believe? The macro exists. If the micro, it happens in the same Fibonacci spiral. It's just a bigger concentric circle.
Right.
It's happening in the universe.
And so on that kind of gyanic level, on that kind of level of knowledge, we're asked, when I say gyanic, I mean that kind of stoic and, I don't want to say emotional less, but yeah, without considering emotion, just like looking at it, looking at this world, looking at the power of time, it can feel dark. But it does get you off the material platform. It does get you, it does step you out. Thinking on that level is thinking outside of the realm of the modes of material nature. Like I see the truth. I see what's actually happening. But what the tradition of bhakti is providing you much more than that. It's saying you need to hear this to let go. And once you let go of this, we got something to grab onto that's going to blow your mind, that's going to satisfy you so far beyond anything that you've been satisfied with. So it's not dark. Don't worry. It only seems dark. What's being washed away is everything but you,
Right.
And then there's so much more to hang on to that you haven't even approached.
Invest in the subtle. Invest in the subtle. Sometimes I think about spiritual bypassing, and I was like, yeah, I do sometimes spiritually bypass. Sometimes I realize, like, don't you get it? This entire thing is dreamlike. The entire thing is just like it's like a wave in the ocean. It's up and it's down. We're caught in it. Like it changes. And as crazy as politics are right now, and wars going on everywhere, if you flicked on the news when you were 3 years old, there was always conflict. There was
a lot of trouble then too.
Strife. Sometimes you have to zoom the hell out to realize we're in a world of pain. And the best thing and if people want to accuse us of being like heartless, you can say, hey, even if we weren't a religious group and we were just, a spiritual path, and we're just recommending control your senses, control your mind, don't indulge in intoxicants, what a good contribution that is to the world anyway. Like, you know how much pain those things alone cause? You know how much pain alcohol causes for the tiny, tiny drip of pleasure it gives you? You know how many people's lives it destroys? Intoxicants, consumption, drugs, illicit activities. You know how much pain and tragedy that causes? We're not bypassing anything.
There you go.
This is actually giving people hope and joy and regulation and self-control.
There you go. Yeah, Raghunath, the nugget yesterday, it was from Gandhi.
Yeah,
and he was saying that prayer isn't just like this idle amusement, but that it's the most potent instrument of action.
Say that again.
And yeah, we were discussing how it's like through prayer one cultivates this inner strength and resolve that you can use in the world to become a positive influence,
Yeah.
But I was thinking that this whole time thing, and also the idea of devotion blended into that Gyannic idea of the force of time. Did you go see the Gandhi film when it first came out? Like what it was like
I fell
1980.
asleep. In all honesty, I watched it and fell asleep.
It was like a 3-hour thing,
It
which
was
was
like
like
a
a big deal.
3-hour snoozer, but
You were falling asleep even back then, like in films.
I could fall asleep through Marvel, you know.
Well, so that was a big deal when that film came out, that
Yeah.
Gandhi film. And I remember I went to go see it. And this was the last line. You know, it's a long film, and then it comes up to this last line. So this was, and it was in Gandhi's voice, and it was, I forget exactly what was on the screen, but it was kind of like a zoom out. It wasn't showing him, but you would hear his voice like a narrator say this line. He said, "When I despair, I remember that the way of truth and love has always won.
Hmm.
There may be tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible. But in the end, they always fall. Think of it, always." Right? So, like, here's a person that was known for his social action, but he's speaking like a classic Eastern philosopher, right? He's speaking about how even when it seems like we can't change the world in the way that we wish we could, what we can do is meditate on the fact that this is how the material world works. Tyrants rise, tyrants fall, and that's the way it always has been. And you know what? That's the way it always will be. And we can get in there and maybe mix things up a little bit. We all have a little power. Some people have a little more power than others. But in the end, it's truth and love. If you cultivate truth and love in yourself, then there's some hope that you can actually expand it to others.
Mayor, what was that thing about Alexander the Invader? I won't call him Alexander the Great. I'll just call him the Invader. What did he want to do on his funeral?
Oh, there was a whole thing of he wanted the doctors to carry his coffin to prove that like even the world's best physicians couldn't save him, and he wanted all his money, like all the riches that he had plundered, basically, like scattered on the road to the cemetery. And there was a third one too that I'm forgetting.
Something like that.
Oh, like his hand left out of the coffin or something.
Yeah.
You want to leave his hand hanging out of the coffin?
Just hanging, just to show you that with all his strength in the arms,
Something, yeah.
He's limp.
he couldn't beat death.
Yeah. After having
Interesting.
taken over the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's the realizations of kings, you know, as they get older and realize I can't keep anything. I've worked so hard to collect all this stuff. Ah, man, that's just...
Anyway, you know, I think for all the listeners, you know, just like, of course, we'll have our takeaways later, but like we can think of this. I need to try to accustom myself a little bit to watching time, watching its destructiveness, embracing the idea that everything around me, including my own body, will be crushed by time, washed away by time. Getting comfortable with that idea, you know, like get comfortable with that, and you've taken one foot forward, a big step forward, and out of the bondage of the material realm. It's a simple thing, but it's a very profound thing. You know, contemplate it a little bit every day.
That was that
you know?
beautiful advice Radhanath Swami gave me that year when he just said, I want you to spend this year going for walks alone in the forest.
Alone in the forest.
And just
You sure he
think
wasn't
about-
trying to get like
Get rid
sounds
of
a little
me?
dangerous. Go alone in the forest, carry meat with you.
Come here.
Make sure you're alone.
Nah, he was just saying, go for walks in the forest alone and just reflect about life. I thought it was going to give me some like intense spiritual meditational practice, but he just said, I want you to reflect on life.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful thing for everybody to do, that we are actually here for a moment. Sometimes I reflect back at our young life as monks, and I relish that. But there'll be a time where we step back from this life and we go, remember when we used to get on Zoom all together? And we used to do this together every day, and there's a whole community of people like that.
Yeah. What we're doing now will be washed away by time. But hearing Bhagavatam won't be washed away by time. You know,
No.
like, yeah. So, yeah. Narayani and Achyuta saying that this hand's hanging out. Its message was that you can't take anything with you. My hands are
That's right.
empty. Yeah.
We come into the world empty-handed and we leave empty-handed.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, time is like a river. Sometimes I get frustrated and I think, you know what? When I die, it's going to be like, oh, Raghunath's dead. What's for lunch? You know what I mean? Even at my own funeral, they're going to be like, oh, poor Raghunath. And then in a moment, you and Parmananda are going to be telling jokes. I just know it. I just know it. It's going to be like, you're going to like feel a little sadness for a moment. And then it's back to work. Then it's
What kind of
back to
subject
work.
did they make?
Yeah. Oh, they didn't make paneer. Whatever it is. They didn't make puris. They made chapatis.
Oh,
It's
you
one
know,
of
I had
those
a
things,
nice.
like, the world will not close down and take a week
Nope.
off when we die. It's just going to go on at the same pace. It will barely stop. And we're steeped in such self-importance.
I tell you, I think, for my father, he lived with my mother for over 60 years. That's a lifetime,
It's a lifetime.
and then time takes your loved one away. I had a wonderful, I was telling you, Raghunath, how I was trying to do, different rites and so on for my mother while I'm here in Mayapur.
Yeah, I heard there was a whole thing.
Well, I was doing different things every day, a little this, a little that.
Did the Payovrata?
Well, kind of. Payo was involved in it, because
Were you
on the
impregnated?
11th day after your loved one passes away, it's said that you're supposed to feed the Vaishnavas. You're supposed to sponsor a feast on behalf of the departed soul. You're
Okay.
supposed to make an offering of prasadam to the Lord. Then you're supposed to take a portion of that and offer to the departed soul, so that they take that prasad. And then you're supposed to feed all the Vaishnavas, right? And on the 11th day was like a perfect setup, because they had this Mayapur Mellows kirtan.
Kirtan festival.
Yeah, they do it every week or two here at this time of year in Mayapur. So it's like, and Indradumna Swami was in town as well.
Oh, wow.
So that brought a lot of his people in and everything like that, a lot of his disciples. And so the feast was already sponsored, but I said, could I sponsor some sweet rice to feed to all the Vaishnavas? So I had sweet rice made, and I got a clay pot of it, a small clay pot. I brought it to Lord Nrsingadev's altar, and then the pujari offered that. That's the way that Lord Nrsingadev's altar works here, is you can just bring offerings and they'll offer them, And so that sweet rice was offered to Lord Nrsingadev, and then I got it, and it felt so powerful, to have that clay pot of sweet rice that Lord Nrsingadev had just, tasted with his divine potencies, and then with the prayers, I offered that to the photograph of my mother. And then I brought that photograph then I jumped on a bicycle and rode to Mayapur Mellows, and they put that photograph on the altar, and which was behind the kirtan musicians. But it was a big photograph, and you could really see her there. And they garlanded the photo, and then Indradumna Swami spoke. And it was a beautiful talk where he was talking about how he told the story about Srila Prabhupada. And he said that Srila Prabhupada was in London in the early days, I guess it was probably the Bury Street Temple.
Yeah.
And he said that Prabhupada led a kirtan, and then when he finished, Prabhupada said, "Did you see them?" And all the devotees were like, "See what? What? See what? So who? You didn't see them? They were right there." "Who, Prabhupada? We didn't see anyone. Who? You didn't see Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva? They were right there." And they're like, "What?" And they said, what were they saying? And Prabhupada said, "They were laughing at you because you're dancing like some Kali Yuga people," or something like that. And they all laughed, But his whole talk was how the devas, these kirtans are like the yagnas of this age, and the devas come to take part and to witness them.
Mm.
And it was a beautiful talk. And then when he led kirtan, it was like over 300. First of all, it was a total celestial kirtan. You know, he led a beautiful melody and just led it so sweet. And you have those horn players in the back, and they're playing just very tastefully, and little keyboard very tastefully, and that kirtan just kept building and building, and everyone there was just riding the waves of the spiritual sound. And I could see my mother on that altar, and she was garlanded, and she just looked so happy. And that kirtan just kept building and building and building and building. And until everybody got up and just started dancing in ecstasy. And, you know, everyone was dancing beautifully, you know, like back and forth together. And
Did you tell your father about this, or you just better? He wouldn't understand if you told him.
I'm not sure. I may try to share something, because the whole thing's caught on video, because they put that up on YouTube. So you can.
It's hard. Yeah. You might appreciate it. He might not. I can't tell.
And as I was watching it, I just felt like she's on a flower airplane ascending into the spirit, into Vaikuntha. You know, it was really beautiful. And it was, for me, it was kind of like the last day of, like, because every day I was offering lots of prayers, and it kind of felt like, okay, this is the closure. This is like the completion of my, I wouldn't call it mourning, but my, like, my performing my duties as her son, you know, for her spiritual well-being. And at the same time, Sri Rupa was so sweet that she sent me a donation for my mother. And so meanwhile, there was like a over at the Ganga temple, they set up a big pandal, like a big tent, and they were having Ramayana reading that night.
Yeah.
With like all the local villagers that come to that, like hundreds. And so I donated to that, and they announced my mother there, so all the villagers could pray for my mother and honor the prasad that that was there on her. So it was like she was feeding all of the ISKCON devotees over here. She was feeding all of the villagers at the Ramayana
pilgrims.
Yeah, and you know, and I, you know, like, and I was, and then when the kirtan was done, then I fed out the sweet rice to like about 300 blissful devotees.
Nice.
And it was, and so I was exhausted. It was a very long day for me, and now it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm really wiped out. And I got on my bicycle, and
That was today?
No, that was Saturday night.
Okay.
I got on the bicycle, and you know, it's about a 20-minute bike ride through the Holy Dham in the dark, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I got home totally exhausted, but I felt good. I felt really good, and you know, time, it does take everything away. But it doesn't take us away. And there is something very deep and beautiful and spiritual to hang on to. Like Gandhi was saying, I don't know the depth of his realization about it, but in the end, it is love that wins, you know?
Yeah.
And even with all of the misery and the disappointments and the pain in this world, even with all the tyrants and all, you know, and all of the troubles of this world, if we just learn to see this world for what it is, it can give us the power to let go of it. And if we're given that spiritual alternative, which is there in Bhagavatam, it gives us something to grab onto that will exceed all our expectations.
Nice. Yeah. Time takes it all away, but it doesn't take us away. That's a little takeaway there, Miss Mara.
Speaking of takeaways, should we wrap it up now? You're a little tired today. Huh?
I'm tired. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. I understand.
There's a great story about your mom, though. I want to give a shout out to.
Touched.
I want to give a shout out to our regular Zoomer Henry, who just moved all his stuff to Florida.
Oh, okay.
Big move for a big move. You know, he's been living in DC his whole life, and he's packed it up. Yeah. Got a truck. Got a devotee trucking company, and he moved to Florida.
Said, I want to be closer to all the devotees, huh?
Yeah, a lot of devotees in Florida, northern Florida. So good luck with that new move, Henry. Okay. What do we got?
Okay. Time takes away persistently and powerfully.
That's right.
Observing the power of time as a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
Step out of the illusion to live in the now.
The power of now, Raghunath.
Power up now.
Don't believe in sweet baby Krishna. How about time, the ferocious destroyer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can have a sweet baby Krishna, or you could just, bow down to a cruel time.
Mm. I like ferocious. I like,
Ferocious
It's a
time.
good word. Invest in the subtle.
Mhm.
Tyrants always fall.
Yeah.
Ride the waves of spiritual sound.
Ooh, surf the waves of the material world.
In the end, it's love that wins.
Always.
Love is the only thing that's real, Kaustubha.
What was that store down? Love saves
Love
the day.
Love saves the day.
See the world for what it is to have the strength to let it go.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ow, ooh.
Time takes it all away, but it doesn't take us away.
Mhm.
That's almost like a prom song.
But it doesn't take our love away.
But it doesn't take time, takes everything but us. Do you remember what your prom song was, Mara?
No, not at all. Do you know yours?
I think I do. I gotta think about it though. I think it was tonight's the night. Who needs tomorrow? Tonight's the night, Kaustubha.
Why don't you stay? Oh, that's Bob Seger. or something?
I
Bob
don't
Seger.
know.
It's Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
How do you know all this stuff?
He's so good. He always knows.
You're a pundit of the mundane songs from the 70s.
It's in there. I can't get it out.
Oh, that was Eileen Shovelin's too.
All right. Maybe
Get
we were at the
outta
same
here.
prom together, Eileen.
You were my date.
You were my prom date.
All right.
Isn't that weird, the prom? It's like Indians can never fathom the prom. You're going to let somebody take your daughter out, your teenage daughter? No way. You marry her, you can take her out. Oh, Krishna.
No one is chanting, "Let the calamities come for my children."
What? Oh,
No one is
no one
chanting,
is no one is praying.
"Let the calamities come
for
again
my
and again
children."
for my children."
That was sort of funny.
That was funny. And
Martine says
Yeah.
proms are an American thing.
yeah.
You know, America with all its problems, we've invented some pretty interesting, catchy things.
Oh, you like
Everybody celebrates Halloween. The whole world does. We made it up. You know, what else do we do? Oh, come on.
Jazz.
Jazz.
Ooh.
Google. Who was it? I was with somebody in Brazil. and
He's
they
waking
were
up
saying-
right at the last minute here of the
I
show,
was just
Mary. He's
thinking
like, he's
that.
perking
I was
up.
with somebody in Brazil, and I said, they said there's one restaurant in America I really love. And I was like, I've been there to America. I said, what restaurant? And they're like, it's called the International House of Pancakes. I was like, yeah, I can understand how people would be like, yes, it sounds so glorious. The International House of Pancakes. We offer that to you.
And
Poor Raghu is dead. What's for lunch?
Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to everybody from Brazil and Uruguay and Chile who came out and hung with me and the band this weekend. And thanks to everybody who bought Pont de Monge.
Here comes
and
Gus. Here comes
Here
Gus.
comes Gus. Gus woke up too. Looking for last minute
Look at him.
Christmas gifts, people? Punk to Monk is out there. My book is out there. Get it for friends. Get it for a spiritual friend of yours. Just go to Amazon, gift ship it right to their house. Cross them off your list. Next, this cousin. You don't know what to get them? Punk to Monk.
Punk to monk.
Punk to Monk. Weird uncle you got. Maybe this will straighten them out. Punk to Monk.
Punk to monk.
Crazy punk friend you have that you think, you know, whatever.
Definitely.
Punk to Monk. Get Punk to Monk to all your friends out there. I'm solving all your Christmas problems immediately. Holiday seasons. They're coming up upon us, Kaustubha.
Punk to monk.
Punk to Monk.